Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review the first 4 episodes of an anime called Monster, a medical procedural show of an anime, which I thought was like, okay, how is this going to be unique enough for me? But come to find out that there is a whole serial killer angle, that there is to be these people getting assassinated, and it's all because of Dr. Tenma. So, if you were to go on and be somehow curious about this anime, by all means, if you are to be a mobile device user, if you are to have a Google Play Store, I would prefer a lot of people probably having like a tablet or an iPad just so that way you have a bigger screen to see something on. But if all you have is a phone on your own, you could probably hopefully go on and find an app called Anify, Anify. I personally had just gone on to watch this show on this app, so believe me, dare in fact it exists. It's there. You should be able to watch it. And watch it in dubbed. D-U-B, dubbed. So you can go out of your way to watch this in English and to be able to watch the whole thing for absolutely free. By all means, I'm sure there are a number of other anime apps of bootleggish kinds that do exist. But if anything, if you probably look through a number of these other past anime video things long enough, because I'm always long-winded in every one of these videos, you'll be able to go on and find other names of other apps. But also, if you just comment down below because you are interested in other apps that exist, I will happily go on and give you a list of things, because there's just some stuff that I don't want to go on and take the time to memorize in my brain noggin. Plus, also, it leaves us less time for me to talk more on these videos, because also I'm dealing with a chest issue that makes breathing a hard labor. But if anything, I was too at the same simultaneous time while going on and just struggling through a video, come to find that somebody didn't like how much I talked. So, but hey, I'm just killing myself, just slowly. But anyways, yeah, I'm really sick right now, but whatever. It's okay, because at the end of the day, this is how much I care about this. This is how much I want to go on and do everything that I can to help somebody out. Um, but at the end of the day, also, like, I guess it doesn't really matter. So, Monster. We come to find that this show is to be all focused on a man named Dr. Tenma. Tenma, it seems, is to be a man that is to be going on and being a top surgeon at his hospital. It seems that every case that he ends up getting involved in, he ends up saving the person that he operates on. Tenma, it seems, is to have at first in the show supposedly had to have been working on a Turkish man, but then decides to shift to an opera singer because the director of the hospital tells him otherwise. So he just goes on and he just decides to switch over, not thinking anything about it. The singer ends up getting saved and the Turkish man dead. So we come to find that this Turkish woman ends up getting upset with Tenma, because obviously it's like, hey, you were working on my husband and you decided to go elsewhere. And that just stuck with Tenma, to the point of him going on and speaking to his fiance about it. And she's like, well, not all patients are created equal. And that really isn't a response that Tenma was to go on and actually like to have heard. So Tenma decides on his own that he wants to go on and have it be a first come, first served basis on his patients. But really, we come to find that Tenma is to be puppeted or manipulated. And when Tenma does not go on and do one whole decision that the director is to go on and want him to do, man, does everything create a downfall in episode 2, which is to be the title of that episode anyways. that will leave Tenma almost to a point of him wanting to quit his job, to lose his fiance ever so quickly, and to realize how basically the system is to be just people wanting money and fame and not much else, to the point of having Tenma realize that this is the one thing that he hates the most about this profession, and how he wants people to die for how they're to go on and only think and feel about how they can go on and continue to uh, pocket their money off of patients, like having the director go on and see this kid that is recovering from this injury. It's like, how can we go on and how can we make this hospital more profitable off of this kid who's recovering? And it seems that there's kind of a buzz going on about this story of this kid. How can we go on and how can we make more money off of him through this hospital? Because if anything, we're not making money off of him, but man, if we would have gone on and saved that mayor, man, we have made a lot of money off of this hospital. Because that's what the director goes on and tells Tenma, no, you need to go on, you need to operate on this mayor, because he's funding the hospital. So we have Tenma with this moral conundrum going on while his patient is slumbering away, or what he thinks is slumbering away. Tenma goes on and continues to talk about how his doctors are to be, again, seeking out fame and fortune, and he wants them to die for them believing in that. And so all of a sudden, people start dropping down dead. And Tenma's like, what the heck is going on? All of a sudden, we have Inspector Lunge that ends up getting put on the case, this weird typewriting in the air character for him to go on and remember everything in his brain. He weirdly goes on and he just has this jerking of his hand. And people are like, what's up with your hand? And he's like, well, yeah, I'm just mentally just typing this into my brain noggin so I can remember all this. So Inspector Lunge goes on to find that his case is to go on cold, because if anything, there is this candy that poisons people. It's very hard to track that down, even though we'd come to find that Tenma knows exactly what this thing is laced with that could kill people. And also, Inspector Lunge goes on to kind of realize that Tenma, it seems, is to have a string of people that are just kind of dying around him, and that makes it a little bit more suspicious. But if anything, also, Tenma has an alibi for the murders of the past, so if anything, it's kind of hard to figure out if Tenma is to be the murderer or if there's somebody else that is in the background killing people for Tenma. So as Tenma is to have all these people die off around him who are looking for fame and fortune, Tenma, it seems, is to be given his title of chief of staff or chief of medicine or whatever. And Tenma is to realize, like, man, what a life I've had. Like, man, like all these crazy things are going on and happening here. And I guess all the weird benefit of me for having a new director come in that just wants to go on and is looking for the best possible doctor, and that is Tenma. So Tenma goes on to take on this position, and again with still the mentality of first come first serve. And Tenma goes on to take on this new patient called Yonkers, which is a very strange name there. Immediately, what comes to mind is Honkers, but anyways. So Tenma takes on this patient known as Yonkers, and we come to find that Yonkers may have some tie to the case of the past that Inspector Lunge is still trying to cold case solve. And so Tenma goes on to meet up with Yonkers and is to try to take care of him because of this car accident, this car wreck. As Yonkers comes to, he mutters the words, "The monster is coming," and Tenma's like, "What the heck does that mean? The title of the show? The reason we're all here? What are you talking about? Huh?" So Tenma comes to find that this guy is to have been haunted or to be followed by this monstrous killer that somehow wants him dead. And so when Tenma is to go on and continue to try to do the right things for his patient, he comes to find as he makes his way back to him that all of a sudden Yonkers is being chased by this shadowy figure that eventually ends up getting revealed that it ends up being the patient of Tenma's past that is to be haunting him. And so Tenma goes on to be face to face with Keeler as he goes on and sends another one off to their merry way of afterlife. And really, that is to go on and be the way that the fourth episode ends up kind of rattling off. So, if anything, with this show, I was thoroughly captivated by the twists and turns of this show. Like, specifically, we'd go on and have Tenma, who has this woman by his side, and you think that this is going to be all well and good until as soon as he doesn't go on and do what the director wants, his fiance throws her wedding ring at Tenma, and then he's like, "Oh, well, okay, like, well, fine. Like, I don't care about my job at this point. I'll just go on and keep saving people, and that's all I'll give a about." And then all of a sudden, as Tenma is to get back his title position, all of a sudden, here is when Eva starts turning around again, and it's to be like, "Oh yeah, well, at the funeral, you were comforting me at the funeral, right?" And Tenma's like, "Well, I was in the background. Like, I wasn't comforting you. If anything, there was some random guy that was actually going on and trying to comfort you more than I was." And so Eva starts to put her hand on Tenma and trying to put the moves on him, and Tenma's like, "No." Like, I came here as a nice gesture, but if this girl is just trying to go on and trying to get back to me because I now have this title and I now have, like, I can see through her of she'll go on and she'll knock boots with whoever is to be the top doctor, and that's all that matters to her, and that's going to be not a rewarding situation to be in. So, as well as also Tenma just going on and just feeling used by a number of people. Like, we'd come to find like a Matthew McConaughey movie, Two for the Money, with Al Pacino in it. Kind of feels like the same idea. Like, we'd have Matthew McConaughey that goes on and is to be picking these winners of these football games and whatever. I think it's like college football. So he goes on and he picks all these winners, and everything is doing extremely well to the point of him needing to pick every single winner absolutely correctly. And so when he does so, that's when all of a sudden his downfall is to hit. And like, this girl that he thought that he was chasing after is just a prostitute, and he'd come to find out that once he goes on and as he does worse and worse, and to the point where people can't even trust his decision anymore or what he is to go on and say, yeah, like, it just becomes the downfall of that character, and It's a really interesting film if you've never gone on to see it, but I know a lot of people go on and be like, that movie isn't for me, and I can understand. But I'm just going on and I'm just making easy comparisons to just interesting films that I did actually like when I watched them. But anyways, this review is to already be 15 minutes long, and I'm sure nobody will probably care at this point. What is my overall grading of Monster? I would say these episodes are to actually be a great bit of telly here. They're very fascinating. I was to go on and just be surprised that a medical procedural anime is to, one, exist, but also is to be something that has such a creative and interesting story that it kept me on my edge of my seat. And man, was I to go on and just enjoy this. I thought it was great. Every single episode, yeah, you could say that this is slow, but also, you could also go on and just enjoy every bit of this, of how it all plays out. And eventually, when you uncover the mystery of who the killer is, it is to just be like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I'm really going on and seeing how this is all to unravel. Like, if Tenma did not go on and save this one kid, how different would his life go on and be? Because Tenma goes on and says that this kid was to go on and change his perspective about how he should go on and become a doctor. And what if he just wouldn't have gone on and saved that kid, or gone on to not do it, or do what the director had told him? Like, how different things would have changed for him. So anyways, with that said, go ahead and check out Monster out, because it definitely, without a doubt, you'll be able to go on and find a number of ways to hopefully be able to go on and watch this show. So with that said, I think it's about that time to just go into the more details, nitty-gritty stuff of which that I kind of left out here, because unfortunately, there is some stuff that off the cuff, it's not so easy for me to remember. So, but at least I got a good gist of what is to happen in the show, somewhat, right? So, with that said, going into more details, the nitty-gritty, and it is about that time yet again to, of course, do the song and dance that I am known for doing. Because it is... Wait a minute. If you were to go on and like medical procedural animes, let me know if more exist. Also, if you were to go on and just be a fan of anime in general, just let me know some interesting anime titles of which that I may have not have covered. Or more than likely, there probably are some that I had done in the past that I'm sure a lot of people like, I wanted you to do more of Demon Slayer or some other kind of other title, which I did want to go on and go back to, but also it just took a very long time of winded ways for me to get back to anime. Because really, I thought there was a good number of movie titles I could have gone on and done well, and they didn't do anyways. But I didn't know. Like, I just kept going on and just kept rolling the dice that day and gambling and hoping that things were going to go better, and they went worse. So, just me being very bluntly honest, because why not? So, if anyways, let's get back into anime and hope for the best. So, I think it's about that time. Yeah, let me know in the comments below any anime titles of which that you have interest checking out, because maybe without a doubt I will look into them also. And I know that a lot of people like Attack on Titan or some other goofy, weird, massive title, Naruto or something, that I probably do know exists, or I probably may have seen an episode here or there. But me going on into an obscure title like Monster will probably going on and have people be like, why the do you even do this? Like, just do all the big titles. Just do all the titles that everybody knows. But I just had fun with this anime, so I thought I would check it out and talk about it. Just me being severely more blunt and honest than I probably would in any other video, because really at this point, I'm just like, well, like, none of these videos are doing well, so I guess it really doesn't matter what I say. So, with that said, let's go into spoiler time. Spoiler time is about that time again to spoil these episodes. Thank you for going on and watching this, because you had to go on and listen to what I had to say. I had gone on to eventually just have a person who was to have mentioned that I talk too much. But I want to give you all an easy out to, without a doubt, not have to go into the nitty gritty details of every bit of this episode, and want you to go on and watch this show for absolutely free. And that's what you're really here for. But, anyways, with that said, I think it's about the time to go into the spoiler portion of this review. So, there's going to be some names here that I'm not going to be exact to memorize or remember. There's some times where I think some of the visuals will go on and lend me some of these names. But yeah, like there's a lot of people that are all wearing the exact same clothing of Scrubs and stuff like that, because I'd gone on and seen shows like Scrubs. So I'd gone on to, of course, watch a good chunk of that show to kind of get some procedural medical stuff that kind of lends me into all these kind of other medical procedural stuff of things of shows and movies. So, like, I'd gone on to also watch Dragonfly recently, which is the Kevin Costner film of Joe, can you hear me? Yeah, I just watched that recently also. Joe! Yeah, man, is that annoying. And I'm sure it sounds just great, right? Anyways, so we make our way into leaving the operational room, and we have a number of doctors that are praising Tenma for his amazing work, mentioning how many hours it took to put together that surgery. And these doctors are all turning to Tenma and saying, like, hey, man, yeah, you should really get some rest because, man, like, you really put in the work in there. Like, amazing. Like, eventually they'll go on and they'll say to Tenma how a genius he is and how skilled he is, and they'll basically just suck him off right then and there, and for how actually good and really as a doctor how well he is. So so as the doctors leave him to go on and get their rest, Tenma all of a sudden turns to this Turkish family couple that is to be boo-hooing crying, and we'd go on to have this son that turns to his mother. It's like, why are you crying, Ma? Like, where's daddy? Where's dad? And unfortunately, the answer for that is that this woman had just found out that her husband is dead. Devilishly dead. So we then turn into weird setting shots, which I obviously go on and always hate in everything, because why are they always doing this? I hate when you have to go on and just plop a number of just, hey, here's background things that just have no connection to the real show. Like, if anything, if you want to do an opening of this show, I would go on and just be showing like clips of maybe like surgeries or the guy going on and maybe just go through the hospital and just show people moving around. That would have been a much more intriguing thing, like, than, oh, hey, here's a shot of this building and this random garbage crap. Because at least that would have been more visually pleasing. The doctoral hospital moving around with people, anyways, because that's about the show. So we cut to Tenma, who's getting awakened by Eva, and we of course see a book that says neurosurgery on it, because this guy is to be the leader of the neurosurgeons. So Eva is to try to wake up Tenma because they have a date together, and as she goes on and tries to wake him up, he is to go on and be watching on the telly about the opera singer and the director going on and mentioning how they had gone on to save the opera singer and having this whole press conference about it. And we'd also come to find that there seems to be a string of these political assassination-like attempts with this family, and if anything, we'll come to find later on that these people will inevitably end up getting killed, but then the the twins, both daughter and son, will be left alive to either be traumatized or to also be secretly a killer, which we'll find out eventually how that all unfurls. So Tenma, of course, is be so exhausted because he didn't get enough sleep, because obviously he's been working on a opera singer the whole night. So uh, so Tenma gets up and is to talk about with Eva how, like, yeah, they were talking about you, and Tenma is like, well, yeah, it was really about how your father can go on and be on the TV screen and get his 15 minutes, and so Eva's like, well, yeah, like, uh, if anything, like, you did the perfect job and you were on my father's team, and like, it kind of gets to the point where Eva just kind of throws herself at Tenma and starts kissing him. And so we're like, okay, so yeah, like, so immediately once he goes on and saves this guy last night, that's when Eva wants to knock some boots with Tenma. Like, we're seeing where things are going. So we get another operation of sorts, and so as this operation is to go on and seemingly be wrapped up, we have Tenma that goes on and meets up with Dr. Becker. So the two of them are talking, and Becker is mentioning how favorited Tenma is, how he's like, yeah, like, you snagged the director's daughter, and you're the head of neurosurgery, and uh and man, all of this place is all ruled and politics and this and that. So Becker is also kind of warning Tenma that it's like, hey man, you're getting used by the director. So if anything, like, just kind of like just realize, like, uh that you are being used, and maybe you should kind of if anything, just kind of enjoy uh and enjoy your job while while you have it. Because yeah, as soon as you're not the best at this job, yeah, you're gonna go on and you're gonna easily get replaced. So Becker walks off, and here's where the Turkish woman comes in with this child, and she goes on and she grabs Tenma, and she's yelling and screaming, "Give me back my husband! You are the one who was going to supposedly operate on my husband, but then you got called away. How dare you give me back my husband? I know that you could have gone on and saved my husband. Husband, why don't you go? husband." And so the woman gets more and more angry and grabs Tenma, throwing him against the wall, being more and more upset that if this guy would have been operating on this Turkish man, he would have been saved this day. But since Dr. Becker had gone on and done this operation, he had killed this man. So, and Tenma goes on and finds that out. He finds out the whole information about the Turkish man. So, here is where we go on to have, while Tenma is talking to this Turkish woman, Tenma's like, oh yeah, like, I remember this now. Tenma goes on to be in the locker room, and they were kind of going over about this construction site accident that this guy was going through. And all of a sudden, another doctor comes in, and I believe it's Dr. Oppenheim. I believe his name when I'm kind of looking through the character list of things. I'm hoping that's correct. Let me know in the comments below if that's the wrong name. But it looks like that character very much so. So Dr. Oppenheim goes on to explain to Tenma here, hey, yeah, you need to go on because the director says so for you to work on this Operation Singer. Hey, forget about that whole Turkish man. We're going to have Dr. Becker working on that. And Tenma just goes on like, oh, okay, like, I guess if the director wants me to work on this guy, then I guess I'll go on and I'll work on this opera singer. So, here's where Tenma goes on and makes his way to this date with Eva, and Tenma goes on and is to not be paying attention much to the date, because in the back of his mind he's just thinking about that Turkish woman and husband. So so Tenma goes on and starts talking to Eva about this, about his plight and his problems. And Eva doesn't really give a like, Eva is to go on and just be like, well, yeah, isn't that kind of a thing of the past? The guy's dead. There's nothing you can do about it. It's not like you can bring him back from the grave. But also, Eva is to go on and just be like, well, not all your patients are to go on and be treated equally. So, like, if anything, yeah, there's only so much you can do. And also, like, is something like this something we should be talking about while we're eating about dead people? Plus, also, it's like, hey, you were just following the orders of my father, the director. So, if anything, you should just do what he says. So Eva goes on eating, and so Tenma is again haunted by this Turkish woman that is living rent free within his brain noggin. And so now we cut to these police officers that are to go on. And also, this is a hospital seemingly in Germany, as if that really matters. But if anything, you're to go on and see stuff like Policia and stuff like that, and you're like, what the heck does any of this mean? Yeah. All this is just seemingly be taking place in the location of Germany. And also, Tenma is to go on and say, it's like, well, yeah, it's lucky I was to go on and be engaged with this woman so I can go on and continue to work in Germany and stuff like that. So, we have a number of these police officers that are to go on and make their way into bashing through this door. And so, one of the cops goes on, one of the hot, sweet, delicious fuzz, goes on to make a number count to break through this door, so that way they can go on and investigate the crime scene and kind of make sure that everybody's kind of like squaring down to make sure that the booger man isn't going to go on and jump out and scare the shit out of them this day, because they don't know if the site is clear enough. So as they make their way through this area, these Kappas, they find this parent family slain, and they continue to make their way, because yeah, the family are dead by the couch. It looks like the dad had like a blow to the head, and because like blood is pouring down his face, and the mother is just kind of just down on the ground. We can't really see exactly what her injuries are. So the cops make their way to find the daughter that is very much traumatized, and she's not to go on and say much, but her eyes just tell the tale. We would have the cops that go on and see on the ground floor this son having a blood wound from his forehead. And so, like, okay, we need to scramble to get this kid, and because they're technically survivors, like he's still breathing, so let's get this guy to the hospital. So Tenma all of a sudden gets this page, and he's like, an emergency. Like, because this guy is seemingly always on call because there are, I guess, are so very few surgeons. Plus, basically, if you're a doctor, you basically have no life anyways. Like, I would go on and I would see in Scrubs, like, so often that, like, doctors would try to go on and crack open a beer thinking that, oh, yeah, we're not going to be busy tonight. And all of a sudden, they end up getting called. So, but if anything, if you're a doctor yourself, let me know for sure how busy your life really is. Like, there's sometimes where I'd go on and see so many doctor shows where, like, the doctors just become like zombies or zombified, just because of how, like, their days are just so long-winded, and also, uh, that they're always going on and just consistently doing all of this stuff to help people out. So we have Temba, who gets a call from his car phone, and he picks it up. So he's to find out about the whole robbery that was to have taken place, which they assume at first that it's a robbery, and then they'll come to find out that it was all just a murder, and it was a political one at that. So Temma goes on and finds that his patient is to have a bullet into his forehead, and so he's like, okay, well, yeah, that should be a pretty tough procedure, but if anything, if we kind of prep ahead of time, we'll probably get everything kind of perfect here. So we now cut to Temba, that is to make his way to Eva and the director's place. I guess this is kind of a little bit of Temma getting to meet up with the director and kind of getting to know this director, because at some point here, the director will go on and ask Temba, hey, yeah, you're going on and you're having a couple of experiments that you're kind of working on right now. Yeah, how about you go on, you put all of that to the side, because if anything, I want you to work on my manuscripts and kind of do my heavy lifting for me. And Temma is to just be like, well, but if anything, my experiments and my stuff is kind of actually important to me. And the director is like, well, like, do what I want you to do. So so yeah, so uh we'd go on to also have them bring up the whole thing about the Turkish man thing. And Temma does bring up that the Turkish man was there before the opera singer, and how it should have been that Tenma should have been working on that guy because he was there first. And so the director just kind of figures out a wiggle way to just be like, well, if anything, like, we're just going on and we're just kind of procedurally doing things a very specific way, and if anything, I see nothing wrong with that. And so uh so now we cut to Temba, who is to just be angry in his car, smashing his steering wheel and just being like, damn you, because he knows that he's kind of been manipulated. So Tenma goes on and makes his way into the hospital, and he meets the ambulance driver who had driven this guy just in. Um, and so he goes on and meets up with this doctor who I have no idea what his actually name is. And I don't see it anywhere on here. Nope, don't see it anywhere. So Tenma is going on and speaking with this doctor, and he's mentioning about how there's a bullet in his forehead, and we have Tenma telling the doctor, okay, put this patient in an x-ray immediately so we can figure out exactly where the bullet is. So Tenma also goes on to find the patient's sister, and he goes on to ask about her. Come to find out, yeah, she is to be very in shock or traumatized. So Tenma goes on and gets ever so close, kind of puts his ear to the girl's face, and weirdly she turns into almost like Jason Voorhees, where she's like, kill, 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 kill. Like, it's very weird. And eventually she'll just keep saying the word kill, kill, and then she says kill me at some point as she Jason Voorheeses her way through the hospital. So Tenma finds that his patient is to be ready after an x-ray to look over to see what they can do. So they go on and they look through the x-ray that the bullet is to be lodged in the middle cerebral artery, whatever that means, because I don't know much about actual doctor terminology. If anything, I just see in the head where it's kind of very placed in the very middle of the brain noggin. So they mention about how they have to be very gentle and very precise about this whole surgery, because if anything, if one little mistake could lead to a massive bit of bleeding and could kill this patient. So all of a sudden Dr. Becker ends up coming in, and Tenma ends up turning to him and like, ah, you again. Like, you gonna kill another patient, Becker? It's probably what he should have said, but he didn't. So uh so Tenma is going on and kind of being upset with Becker. It's like, well, why are you here so late? Uh like come on, like we're trying to save lives here. So Tenma has to be very focused about how exactly he's going to go on in his brain and work out this whole surgery, talking about damaged blood vessels and how to be careful to remove the bullet, and all of a sudden, uh, as he's like, well, hey, we're going to go on and just try our best, we're going to figure this out. And so as Tenma goes on to make his way to the operating table, and everybody's kind of suited up, so to speak, as far as doctor terms is to go on with the whole gloves and masks and everything like that. We have Dr. Oppenheimer that goes on it again and pulls away Tenma, and is to go on and explain to him, hey, yeah, we're gonna need you in OR1. Yeah, we have Mayor Roddecker that is seemingly suffering some cerebral blood clots, so we're gonna go on. We're gonna need you over there. Blood clots. If anything, I had gone on to just deal with a person that went to a hospital because of like lung blood clots, and like it didn't really seem like there was a thing that they need to like surgically do, but like maybe there's different kind of clots that like have to have surgery and whatever on. But if anything, yeah, like shouldn't it be kind of taken care of with like blood thinners and stuff like that? But I guess maybe that is one kind of thing in this anime that maybe they're just like, well, we just need to come up with just something just to say here, and if people aren't in the medical field, they won't have catch that or caught that or whatever, because they're probably expecting that people that actually aren't, or maybe they're to go on and be doctors that they kind of worked with on this show to get real information. But anyways, so Tenma gets pulled away by Oppenheim to pull him away from this surgery again. And so Oppenheim is explaining to Tenma, yeah, this surgery is like 10 minutes out. And Tenma's like, wait a minute, like, I could be working on this kid right now, and this mayor is coming in 10 minutes. Yeah, like, I should be going on working on this kid, hoping that maybe I can save him in a good amount of time. And if I wait 10 minutes, that kid could be dead. Like, what are you doing? So they mentioned about how Dr. Boyer could go on and could be involved in the mayor's case and not Tenma. And eventually that'll go on and turn sour, how eventually these doctors will go on and try to save the mayor, and the mayor will die. And then Dr. Boyer turns to Tenma and is like, well, we had to scramble because you weren't there. You weren't the Superman to save us. And oh man, I'm just so upset with you because you weren't there to just save us from this surgery. Because we're just not that good of doctors now, aren't we? No, because everyone just dies around Tenma when he doesn't go on and save everyone. But anyways, so Dr. Oppenheimer goes on and Oppenheim thrusts the phone into Tenma's face. Tenma goes on and answers it, and it's the director. The director goes on and explains to Tenma very specifically that the reason why Tenma is to go on and to be in the case of the mayor instead of this boy is because the mayor is going on and funding this hospital. And that is the reason why the director wants Tenma on this case, because if anything, this boy is to have nothing about him of real viable wealth going into this hospital to justify Tenma needing to focus on him, that if anything, focus on the mayor, so that way this hospital can get more money. So, after Tenma goes on and overhears that, he feels forced to give in to what the director has to say. So, he does agree to it, even though also he's going on and saying, like, well, hey, like, this is a kind of complex surgery that this kid is going to go through, and I feel that I can nail it. And the director is just like, well, like, well, but I want you to work on the mayor. So Tenma goes on and gives the phone back to Oppenheim, and we start to have doctors all starting to come in here, and they're starting to talk to Tenma and say, like, yeah, man, like, come in and use your genius ability so we'll go on and save this mayor. And yeah, with your skill, we'll go on and we'll definitely save him, because hence any of these other doctors are just useless, right? Like, heaven forbid anybody has to go on and actually just save people's day here, because it all comes down to one doctor and one doctor alone. So Tenma goes on and kind of stops for a minute and is like, no, I'm going to go on and I'm going to work on this kid. Like, if anything, Dr. Boyer, whoever other doctor, you guys, you go on, you work on this mayor. Like, I'm sure he'll do well. I'm sure he won't die in the operating table, right? Because I'm just so freaking good at what I do that I have to save everybody. But hey, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna work on this kid because if anything, like it makes the most sense to me because first come first serve. So Tama goes on, makes his way to this kid, and but also he's kind of being haunted by other people that are go on and be manipulating him and telling him all these things like, oh yeah, um, well people's lives aren't all created equal, and the Turkish woman of like, you could have saved my husband. Anyways, so Temma makes his way to the kid, and he's like, don't worry, kid, just hang in there, I'll save you. What if the kid would have died? We're like taking all this time to get to the surgery of this kid. What if he wouldn't have been able to save him and he would have died? Man, would that have gone on been interesting to see how this show would have all led. But if anything, this kid living is to be important also. So we cut back to the little girl, who I believe her name is Anna, because I kind of forgot that for a second, or for a while here. So Anna's going on at this bed, and we just see her face haunted by the traumatizing of her past. And then we cut to the following next episode, which is to be labeled Downfall. So Temma goes on and does this whole procedure, and everything goes smoothly. They had removed the bullet from the forehead, and they had talked about how they've reinforced the damaged blood vessels, and it seems that they've gone on to have the kid who needs a machine to be able to breathe, but also like he's kind of gotten out of critical condition, and it seems that he's going to go on and eventually make a good run for living. So we have Tenma that goes on and he makes his way through the hospital after he's gone on to save a life, and now he's effing exhausted. So Temma goes on and slams down on this this bit of chair after going on and having that tough surgery. And all of a sudden, he meets up with Dr. Boyer and the other doctor that was working on the mare. So Temma's like, oh, how did the procedure go? I'm sure it went splendidly well. I'm sure you saved him, right? I'm sure you had gone on and had the mare live, and now we're getting all this funding from this hospital, and if anything, like, it's good that I just let you guys go and do it, right? Because I'm sure I'm not going to regret that decision for the rest of my life that you killed people. And Dr. Boyer goes on and turns to Temba, is like, yeah, the mayor is dead. The mayor's dead. So Temba's like, of course he is. Of course he is. So Temba's like, oh, well, that's a shame. And so Dr. Boyer goes on and tells Temba, it's like, well, yeah, like, it all went horribly awry because you abandoned us last night. We had to scramble and try to save the mayor, but if anything, it's all because of you and your selfish way about being a doctor. And we had to fill the vacuum that you left. We had to fill the void of you because you weren't there. So Temma is like, wait a minute, like, are these guys just upset with me because I'm not a team player? Like, what the heck? So Oppenheimer is also grilling Tenma because Oppenheimer is like, well, yeah, like the director told you to do this procedure, Like, I told you to do it, and you ignored all that, and you ignored me, and surgery all depends on trust. How dare you? Uh, if anything, Tenma, you're a grandstander. You're a this or that. Yeah, we have to kind of throw every bit of dialogue that comes our way here. So Oppenheimer is to scare Tenma about, like, well, yeah, I told the director what you did, and about this incident, and you've lowered the prestige of this hospital. Yeah. So as the doctors all walk away, we go on to have the nurse that goes on and tells Temba, hey, yeah, like, the kid that you were just working on, he's very stable. Uh, yeah, the operation you did, it was wonderful. And so that makes Temba just feel a lot better from this nurse going on and giving him positive feedback instead of these other doctors that are just like, yeah, you grandstander, you just went against all of everybody. And so Temma goes on and makes his way home, and in the news they're going on and they're covering about the mayor and his timely death. And so we have the director that is going on and doing this whole press conference about speaking out about the cause of the mayor's death, and he doesn't go on and blame Temba. He's just like, well, yeah, like, I'm sorry, like, the mayor did die, and uh and and he had a severe brain swelling, and there was nothing we could do. So this is a very unfortunate outcome. Da 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 da. So, uh, but if anything, he says, yeah, in the future we're going to go on and we're going to take better steps to have it to where something like this doesn't happen again. Boo hoo. So Temma is to go on and is to try to get some sleep. But on the news, they're going on and they're talking about how that they're talking about this family again, about the robbery, and there may have been an act of political terrorism, and how there's an investigation going on, and if anything, they're talking about the twin children, the son who had been gunshot to the head and had successful surgery, and so. And then the news starts talking about the weather, and it's like, oh, all right. So so Tama goes on and he makes his way to the hospital after, I guess, sleeping it off. So we have the nurses that come to Tema to deal with Anna because for some odd reason she can't sleep. And Tema is going on and not really paying much attention to what the nurses are saying. And they're like, excuse me, Dr. Tema, like, are you listening to what I have to say, you bitch? Listen to me! Listen! So Tema's like, oh, yeah, oh, okay. So Tema goes on and he starts subscribing some medication and lets the nurses on their way because he was paying attention. So Dr. Becker comes in and Becker turns to Tim as like puts his hand on his shoulder. It's like, yeah, it looks like you've been through it, buddy. Like, so so the so Becker goes on and talks about the director and some judgments that are currently being made, and Becker is like, well, yeah, I warned you, didn't I? I told you, like, I told you how this hospital rolls in politics, and man heads will roll and stuff like that. So, uh, And if anything, man, you had it made. You were like smooth sailing, and and now you and I we're back to being on the shit list. Yeah, we're going on, and don't be so depressed. But if anything, uh, at some point you're gonna go on and redeem your reputation anyways because you're really good at what you do. So now we turn to this inspector. He's turning to a nurse that is going on and hoping that he could talk to either the boy or the daughter to kind of get uh, some information. So this is to actually be Inspector. I'm trying to see if there's a name here somewhere where I can grab fairly quickly because I don't remember this inspector's name. Obviously, uh, yeah, none whatsoever. Let me pause here for a second. Yeah, I couldn't find it. So yeah, so if anyways, if it comes up, then I'll go on and I'll say it. But if anything, more important, detective is actually Inspector Lunge, anyways, and I know his name at least. So the inspector goes on and speaks with this nurse, and it seems that they're having the inspector want to go on and speak to Anna. But the nurse goes on and says, yeah, about Anna. She tends to leave her room quite frequently. So I don't know if you're going to go on and be able to get much out of her because we're trying to find her right now. So Anna is to make her way through the hospital, and here's where she goes on and Jason Voorhees is her way into saying kill and then kill me. So we now make our way into Tenma, who is at like it looks like a banquet of some kind. I'm not quite sure. There's like a big room here where the director goes on and talks about this whole speech, and so he talks about how grateful he is, um, and how yes, the mayor did die in his hospital, uh, but they did the utmost to save him, and so if anything, the director does go on and talk about Dr. Boyle and Dr. Eisen, so I actually do get the name of these characters through the story here. And the director does go on and praise these two doctors that had worked on the mayor, even though he died anyways. What does that make any sense? Uh, so the two doctors are getting clapped for how much they killed somebody, and so Tama goes off to the side and is just kind of looking and just kind of seeing the director off in the distance. So Tama goes on to the director and he apologizes for what he did. And the director is like, "Well, what's done is done. Like, oh well, like let's just leave it at that." So Tama thinks that all is well, but then eventually he'll find out otherwise. The director will go on and eventually say it's like, well, yeah, like if you're gonna go on and want to think that you're gonna be the lead of neurosurgery, yeah, that's gone. Like if anything, I'm going on and I'm gonna give that to Dr. Boyer now. And Dr. Boyer comes up and does this whole speech, and the director's like, yeah, and if anything, you're gonna try to accomplish the future will go on and kind of be a moot point. And even if you go on, and you think about quitting, yeah, don't expect a glowing recommendation from me. So, uh, But if anything, we throw again at Tenma's face that like surgery requires teamwork, and I guess Tenma is not a team player. So we now cut to Tenma. That after kind of getting thrown this pretty hard blow, he leaves this area of which they're going on doing this whole kind of speeches and stuff like that, and he makes his way outside. Tenma notices his fiancee Eva and hopes that maybe she's going to be there to comfort him in his time of need. So Eva is to turn, or Tenma is to turn to Eva to be like, well, hey, like, maybe you can go on, you can speak to your father for me, and realize like what he's done is wrong, and maybe I can get my job back. So, if anything, what I was working on was a very emergency case, and da da da. So, here's where Eva goes on and takes her engagement ring and shoves it into Tenma's face and drops it on the ground, and she's like, "I'm bouncing, I'm bouncing from this engagement." Tenma is to just be godsmacked by how this girl is to so quickly turn coat on him and make her way immediately to seek out Dr. Norden, and being like, "Oh yeah, I'm back on the table, guys. I'm back on the market. Woo, yeah." So, like throwing her weight at everybody now that she is to go on and realize that Tenma isn't the best doctor now. So we now have Tenma making his way to his patient, this boy, and Tenma's like, "Man, what a laugh I've been having lately with all of this craziness going on in my life." So and Tenma going on and talking about like why he came to Germany, and so uh Tenma goes on to finally mention about how he was going on and realizing how he was just being used, and how people only cared about him because of his position, and how um, uh, saving people should be a doctor's first concern, and not to uh, be distinct of who to save, and that there's flaws in people's characters, and and that people are just money hungry, and are to just seek people out for fame and fortune, to benefit themselves and benefit their wallets and not much else. So Tenma is to go on and call out these people that he hates to be bastards, and he wants them all to be dead. And so Tenma goes on and looks at this child and is to thank him for making him see the light, basically. And so he walks off, to come to find that this kid's eyes are starting to pop open a little bit, and he's heard every word that this doctor has gone on to say. So now we cut to this inspector that is talking to this doctor and this nurse. I believe that the doctor's name is actually Dr. Like Maurer or something like that. I kind of caught Nur, Nur. Like at least I caught that name. So So this detective is speaking with Dr. Nur and this nurse, who I have no idea what her name is, because most of these nurses honestly all look the same, because they honestly are. There's not a distinct feature about them that doesn't look the same. But anyways, so or maybe it's the same person, I just didn't know. Anyways, so of course this detective is wanting to go on and speak with Anna, and they're curious if anything could be done to try and speak to her. And so the Dr. Nur and the nurse are saying, it's like, well, hey, like, this daughter was to have had her parents shot right before her very eyes. Like, she's kind of really gone through and had some real wounds here, and because of the trauma, it seems that she's also having troubles remembering anything. So the doctor turns to the inspector, is like, hey, don't try to go on, and don't try to talk to her further, because if anything, it'll just hurt her more. So if anything, try to refrain from trying to pull this out of her, because it'll just make it worse. So uh we then go on to come to find that this inspector is to have somebody coming in from the BKA, and this to actually be or Inspector Lunge. And because considering about how this is a like a political thing, like this is coming from a political family, that this kind of inspector is kind of coming in, so that way this case ends up getting solved. So uh, so the inspector is also asking if there's a possibility that he'll be able to see the brother and see if he could talk to him. And also for the inspector to maybe have questions about whether the sister can go on and see the brother. And they suggest against that right now. So Tema goes on and is to explain to people how he doesn't want the sister to speak with the brother, because if anything, um, it'll just flood all that trauma back, and it'll kind of very much affect both patients. But anyways, so here's again where Tema goes on and meets up with Becker, and Tema's like, "Hey," or Becker's like, "Hey, Tema, you're looking a little tired with all these emergency surgeries that you've been doing lately." Because yeah, like we find that Tema is just worn down with just trying to do all these surgeries, because now he's not to be tailored to do very specific ones. So Becker is telling Tema, "Yeah, you're getting worked to the bone. If anything, you're getting dominated by the new chief," basically saying that Tema's life is going to be hell. And of course, it is, because Dr. Boyer's taken over and is wanting basically Tema on his shit list. So, uh, so Tema ends up going on and getting paged, and so Becker goes on and gives him like one kind of concern of warning of like, well, hey, if anything, it's going to get worse for you. So we have the director and the two doctors kind of looking over Dr. Boyer and Oppenheim. And the director is looking over this son. It's like, if anything, yeah, like it seems that this boy has this heartbreaking story, and it seems that there is quite a bit of medical expenses that are starting to stack up with this boy being in this hospital for a number of days. Like, if anything, like, is there any way that we can probably get this hospital some attention through this boy? And so we'd go on and we have the director that goes on and asks the doctors, as well, how about we go on and how about we have the boy meet up with his sister? And the other doctors explain that Tenma did not want the sister to go on and meet up with his brother quite yet. And the director is like, oh, well, that's what Tenma says. We can ignore what Tenma says. Because if anything, I want to go on and I want to have this sister meet up with the boy, and then we could take pictures of them to sell to the newspaper so that way we can make some money off of this. So the director goes on to find this bag full of candy that was obviously to be lent or given to this kid, because there's quite a bit of buzz around this kid and hoping that he's going to recover. So there's a number of flowers and there's a number of presents and everything like that for this kid for him to get better. So the director goes on and opens this bag of candy and is to ask the doctors, hey, would you like some candy? They all take it. So we'd come to find that this candy is to be laced with poison and is to kill all these doctors off. So what a coincidence that that all ends up being. So plus also this doctor is taking advantage of this kid getting candy because it's like, well, hey, he's comatose right now. He's not going to need this. Plus also these gifts were to be given by citizens to this kid, so we're going to take full advantage of that. So Tenma goes on and meets up with his patient, Mrs. Hankel. I'm not really quite sure exactly what's going on in this exact part of the thing, because if anything, this patient doesn't really have much of what's really going on here. But if anything, from what I do remember, is Tenma is going on and just kind of doing the follow up on this woman and mentioning about how she'll get a release soon, and so Tenma turns to the nurse and starts to talk about dosages, and then he goes on to leave to find out that Anna had gone on to meet up with Johan, and there's a reason why I had gone on to save not actually saying the boy's name for quite a bit of long time, because if anybody who is to have gone on and find out about what is going on in the show through other means, they come to find out that Johan, within time, ends up becoming a serial killer and ends up going on to be a person that Tenma meets up with later and is like, yeah, I'm a killer and I kill all these people. And I've gone on to, in some ways, save you, Tenma, by killing all these people to make your life better. And Tenma goes on and is to be mortified by the fact of, like, oh my god, like, I saved your life, and you in turn was to kill people? Like, all life is valuable. Ah! Like, it's kind of like Superman, the more current, corn sweat whatever one, where he goes on, he's like saving squirrels and just this random woman that's just stuck in a well because Lassie was a thing at one point. That doesn't actually happen in the movie, but I'm just saying that, like, Superman goes on and he realizes that all life is valuable, so he goes on and saves everything, even a squirrel. Or a dog that is just barking at a monstrous thing. He saves everything because all life is valuable. So Tenma goes on and finds that Anna is to have fallen down because of the strain of her body going on, and seeing her brother in a hospital bed had kind of done her in. So we have Dr. Nur with all these other, with this other nurse, and then Tenma. And so Tenma's very confused about, like, okay, like, why is it that Anna is to have passed out the way she is? And why is she to go on and be near her brother's room? And then we find Dr. Boyer and some other doctor with this camera in hand. And Tenma's like, like, you guys were doing something shady to try to figure out how to make a better benefit off of this story by selling this thing to the news. And Tenma goes on and asks Boyer why he had gone on to do that, which that's the reveal. So Tenma is to, of course, grab Boyer, very upset that he was to go on and do this kind of behind his back, explaining about how he didn't want the sister to go on and see the brother because he knew something like this would happen. And all of this was just to sell some photos to the media to try to make this hospital look better and to try to profit off of patients' pain. So, as well as also, neither the siblings or twins have gone on to heal from either psychological Anna's issues or Johan, who has to have completely recovered also, but it seems that he is to be now awake, and Johan is twisting out his hand to his sister, or to anybody with tears in his eyes. And Boyer goes on to say, it's like, well, yeah, like, as soon as we brought this guy's sister in, he immediately woke up, and so they take that as a win, that this kid was to be coherent when his sister came in. So Tenma now goes on and makes his way through bars and is to get so deliciously drunk, and Tenma is to go on this rampage of anger because he's like, who cares what the director says? Who cares what the chief says? They're all just power hungry. So Tenma goes on and falls in an alley somewhere and passes out drunk. And so now we have Eva that goes on to make her way into her father's house and is to say, like, well, I'm home, father. Like, where are you? Like, oh, like, are you in your room? I'll go in and I'll make my way to you to see if you're okay. Like, hopefully you're not going to end up dead or bloody on some desk somewhere, right? This kind of feels like a horror movie in some aspects. Where it's like, yeah, Eva, go down the dark alley or the basement to find out that you're gonna lead to your death. I'm honestly kind of hoping that Eva honestly ends up getting killed here, horrifically, in the worst way possible. But if anything, that makes me feel like a horrible person by saying that. But honestly, with how Eva is just to go on and throw her goods at anybody that is to be successful enough because she's a gold digger, I honestly can't go on and not feel horrible exactly by just saying that this person doesn't kind of in some ways deserve to die. If she does get killed in the show, but it might make me go on and feel like a horrible person by saying that. So we make our way to have this nurse that goes on to find both Oppenheim and Dr. Boyer dead from poisoning. So, and in turn, we have Eva that goes into her father's office to also find her father to be dead. The weird thing about this desk, though, I think the desk had blood on it. So I was like, wait a minute. Like, was he killed? Was he shot? Was he whatever? But no. We'd come to find out that the guys were all poisoned. And yeah, like for some reason, there, I guess, was a little bit of a blood trail on this desk for some reason. I don't know why. It just kind of confused me a little bit. And then we turned to have Tenma and his bed just kind of rocking back and forth because I guess he didn't black out completely in the dark alley where he's going on like, yeah, these guys should have been better off dead, better dead. Anyways, so remix. wait. If anything, yeah, like I think at this point, like I'm just having a bit of fun by just saying stuff, as well as also I'm just getting to the point where I just like at some points I just don't, because of how not well the channel is going, and also just like how like I'm just dealing with a lot right now. There's a lot on my plate. Like I have this chest injury, I have everything going on, that I'm just feeling very much just like when I'm coming in here, I'm figuring out a way to try to be happy, and also to just have a bit of fun here. But also, I'm sure I could be very annoying to a good number of people. But if anything, at least I'm being very honest and forthcoming to everybody about what I'm dealing with, as well as also just trying to do my best to figure out a way to talk about all this stuff because I have to do it in a timely manner. Because the longer I try to do this, just like the last time I went in and I did another video, by the end of it, I was like, I was so freaking spent. And I was like, man, I should not have gone on and done this for 2 hours because it really took a lot out of me. For how I'm still kind of dealing with this chest injury that's going on and just kind of making it harder of a labor of doing anything. But it does matter because I want to just keep trying to keep my channel alive. Plus, also, I want to try to help people find content, and so that's all I'm here for. Regardless of how people will treat me and not realize I'm a human being like they are. But there are people that go on and they do praise me for all the work that I do, and there are people that go on and even share bits of information of all kinds of things, which I'm forever grateful for that exchange of people just talking and chatting and being nice and going on and giving me positive feedback that just does go on and kind of make it very worth it for me to keep going, as well as also just these things that just do actually well and do well in numbers, regardless of people having to jump onto the comment section and say something. I'm just forever grateful that people are going on and checking these things out and watching the crap out of them, because that helps me just mentally realize that I can just justify continuing to do this, regardless of what I'm going through on my day to day. That keeps me motivated. That keeps me going. But anyways, so I just had to throw that in there, even though I probably talk too much, right? It's okay, because, oh well. So, Tenma goes on to have a knock at his door, and so he goes on to answer it to see this state policeman going on a meeting with him. So, Tenma's like, oh, okay, officer, what can I do for you? And so the state officer goes on and says, well, yeah, like I was just very curious about where you were last night, And Temma's like, well, I was going on and I was drinking all night last night. If anything, like I went to this bar. There's an evidence of me going on and to have been drink quite heavily. So if anything, yeah, like what are you here for? So we would have the state policeman that goes on to mention about how the director and Dr. Boyer and Oppenheimer are to all go on and be dead. And you could just see on the face of Tim as he's like, huh, what? Like, what now? Like, he isn't just like, yes, they're all dead. Woo, yeah. Like, he's not having a victory lap and dancing and whatever. No, like, he actually is to just be, like, mortified by the fact, like, wait a minute, like, all these people are all killed? Because, again, Tenma is to say that life is valuable, but also, even before, he was, like, maniacally, like, mustache twirling, like, I hope they're dead. Because of how horrible of a people or person that they are. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't value all life, to where when surprisingly he'd find them dead, that he'd not be in a state of shock. So it seems that we are now finally into chapter 3 or episode 3, which is like, man, if we're this far behind in an hour and 30 minutes, man, this video is probably going to take a long-winded amount of time because I went into too many of the details. My bad. I didn't realize that. If anything, also, I went to a long way of going into every bit of detail in the beginning of this video, and that's why this video took too long anyways. There's a lot of times where I'd kind of shorten all that up and not get into the nitty-gritty details, and then realize how much a mistake that was. Because I'm like, did I say too much? Did I not say enough? I don't know. Anyways, moving on here. So, Tenma, now finding out that a number of doctors are all dead, Tenma is now scrambling to the hospital to try to figure out if he's needed, because he realizes that, like, yeah, a good number of doctors are all dead. I need to go on an act to just help people and help this hospital. So Tenma goes on and tries to make his way to the hospital, and there's a number of news reporters that are all hounding him, trying to get his words on what's going on about the whole incident. And Tenma is trying to get in the hospital. He's throwing his badge up to say, "Hey, I'm Dr. Tenma. Like, I want to get in here so I can go on and help people." And so this state policeman's kind of waving him in, like, oh, "Okay, you work here. You have a badge. All right, like, go in there and save some people. Save them, delicious people." So Tenma goes in, and immediately there's a nurse that thrusts into the arms of Tenma. I'm like, God dang, Tenma. Like, you might as well just start knocking boots with some nurses. Like, holy shit. Like these nurses go on, and they really are loving some Tenma. So, like, why doesn't he go on and knock boots with them or ends up with one of them? Because it seems that all the nurses are just like, man, you're a wonderful doctor. Da, 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 da. And, like, yeah, you would think that Tenma would be, like, finding one of these nurses and be like, okay, like... since I can't have Eva because she's a horrible person, and why would I want her anyways? Like, I'll go on and I'll just any number of these nurses all like me. So here we go again with Tenma going on and speaking to one of these doctors. And so Tenma is wanting to go on and getting updated on where this hospital is at right now. And it seems that there is a good number of emergencies and surgeries that Tenma should be scrambling right now to get a part of, so that way he can help out the best way possible. So, all this is very vague and whatever, because I can't exactly remember exactly what's going on right here. If anything, there's a mention about a car accident that is to have gone on and a brain contusion, and eventually I think that goes on and leads to I think possibly Yonkers? Maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Yeah, I may be getting way ahead of myself. So So obviously Temma goes on and tells this doctor, it's like, okay, for this guy who's dealing with this accident, we'll go on and we'll have this person to get x-ray to kind of see what's wrong with them. Also, we'll have found out that there's a patient that is going through a stroke right now. So uh, so Tenma goes on and is walking through the hospital, and here's where he bumps into another investigator, and the investigator goes on and mentions about how Tenma, it seems, is to be the only one that has a kind of grudge against the director and all these doctors, because if they go on and if they go missing, Tenma is to go on and possibly get a good position within this hospital. So, if anything, we have this inspector that goes on and asks Tenma about the grudge that he is to have, or if anybody's to have a grudge. And Tenma's like, no, I don't think anybody did. But if anything, he probably should have said himself, but he doesn't. So, uh, so the nurse is to go on and make Tenma aware uh, that the brother of the two twins is to somehow be gone missing. And as Tenma scrambles to get back to the boy's room and realize he's gone, we have Tenma that is just like, what the heck has happened here? Then we cut to the director's funeral. Or now the dead director, so he's not the director anymore. So we have Eva that is mourning the loss of her father, and we all of a sudden have one of the doctors that is trying to comfort her that's not Tenma, but he's nearby. Eva is to go on and be yelling and screaming like, give me back my father! And so as Tenma goes on and leaves the funeral, he meets up with Becker. And so they're talking about how things are to kind of twist and turn the way they are. They're talking about the director's daughter. They're mentioning how things are quite a shock, and so here is where Tenma goes on and meets with this inspector that eventually gets introduced to Inspector Lunge. So there's two different inspectors here, and eventually he'll meet up with Lunge, who's working on this case. So Dr. Lunge goes on and says to Tenma, it's like, well, yeah, like, Tenma, it seems like I've kind of heard around town that you're like a really brilliant doctor, and Tenma is like, well, yeah, like, I think it feels like people are saying that, but I still have a ways to go to actually be brilliant. And Tenma's like, yeah, like, hey, don't go on and praise me too harsh. Like, if anything, I might just kill somebody next, and there goes my whole people going on and praising me. So we have Lunge that is going on and moving his hand in a very unusual manner. To where we just consistently, everybody goes on, looks down at his hand, and Lunge doesn't go on and be like, hey, look up here. Like, he doesn't go on and he doesn't correct them or anything like that. But then eventually people do bring it up. They're like, why are you going on and typing with your hand? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm typing because it kind of keeps me locked into my brain. Like, I think a lot of people are probably thinking that maybe he has, like, Parkinson's or something. That's the reason why his hand is moving that way. But no, he's just strangely a typing, and that gets it locked into his brain. So, yeah, like, that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of people that feel that they need to do things in a very specific way. They have a ritual of doing things, and that helps them to kind of keep things locked the way it does. Like for me, like the way I go on and I pattern these reviews is always how I feel that I can go on and remember things better, by just getting the cast list out or character list and going on and kind of presenting um, this thing in this very specific way, and also going off the cuff in the very beginning of this and trying to see whatever I can retain and 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 do that very early in the reviews so people can get the gist of what's going on. Because I think when I was to start doing these reviews, I was extremely vague, but now I feel more that I can just go on and just kind of say whatever in the very beginning of this, because if anything, get the most information out. Because if anything, people are going to go on and think that I didn't watch any of this content, or also go on and uh, and just say that, like, oh, I didn't get anything out of this. Like, well, I didn't know how vague I was supposed to be in the beginning of these reviews. That was my biggest problem. Was just not knowing how much I should say about these movies and shows in the very beginning of this, because I didn't figure out um, how to do these reviews. But then eventually I'd come to find that people are like, oh no, yeah, like kind of say more about the film, say more about the shows, and then I'd find, oh yeah, like I'd find my pattern, I'd find my way. That's the whole thing about interactions between you and I as viewer and reviewee, um, is to figure out how best to do this, and that's the thing that uh, I think is to be very much like lost by uh, a number of people that are to go on and just accuse me of like, well, hey, I got nothing out of this review. It's like, well, I didn't know how much to say. Like, I didn't know how much to go in depth about, and that's my biggest issues when I was to have gone on and started this out. Because eventually anybody will go on and probably find um, the reviews I had done so early in my career, and not the stuff I'm doing currently. um, Plus, yeah, also I've changed a number of different ways about how to do this in the time of me doing this. But anyways, so uh, so Inspector Lunge goes on to mention to Tenma here about the poisoning of the director and the two doctors, and Tenma goes on and is to know about this muscle relaxant that was to have been given into this candy. And it's like, candy was the real one that was to do this whole these guys in. So eventually we need to kind of keep that in mind, because whenever there's to be a candy wrapper and somebody dead, we realize that people are getting poisoned by candy in the show. Eventually there'll be a state policeman that goes on and takes the same candy, and he gets killed. So uh so Lund goes on and mentions about how he's taken over the case, and how this wasn't a robbery, it was a killing, and and blah 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 blah, and how it's political terrorism, blah blah blah. So okay, so uh, if anything, Inspector Lunge is realizing how Tenma could go on and be suspect number one to all this, and it would be a pretty good fit that Tenma could be the killer here. But the inspector that's with Inspector Lunch is like, well, yeah, he would be nice, but if anything, he had gone on to this bar and had gotten drinking, and he has a tight alibi. So, yeah, we don't really think it's him. Here's the thing here. So, anybody could have gone on and taken this candy at any time. like, I still don't quite understand how they can't go on and think that Temba could still have had given these people candy and killed them. And why not have Temba still be suspected of this murder? I guess we could also go on and say that there could be a line of way too many suspects with this being a hospital also, that maybe the director or the doctors could have gone on and ticked off or upset a formal patient, and that could have gone on and given them all the motive to have killed these doctors. If anything, like, it would behoove these inspectors, and I wish they would have done this on the show, for the guys to have looked into the director or doctor's past patients who had gone on to be alive, or people that they have killed, and maybe had that to somehow be connected to any of that. That would have been more interesting or productive of the show to do that, but I guess there's just so much you can only do in this anime. So, here's again where Becker and Temma are talking here, and they start talking about how Temma would probably go on and be a pretty good suspect for this whole murder thing, because there's enough against him. And Becker's like, yeah, don't worry about it. If anything, they've questioned me too, so yeah, like, they're gonna question everybody. So Temma mentions how exhausted he is, and Temma's like, yeah, I don't think I want to go on, and I don't think I want to be here anymore. I think I want to go on and I want to, like, make my way to Japan. And Temma is going on, and eventually, like, there's talks about him quitting the hospital, and some of the nurses and some of the people are to find out, is like, oh man, like, are you thinking about quitting? Don't quit on us. And Temma's like, dude, I'm just, like, I'm looking out for myself. Like, at this point, like, Temma, like, this whole situation has really affected him in a massive way. But so uh, Temma goes on, and he makes his way to another one of his patients, and the patient is to go on and is to have overheard that Temma is leaving, and he's like, hey, don't go on and don't leave, Dr. Temma. You're a really good doctor. He grabs onto his hand, and he tells him, hey, don't leave. And Temma's like, oh, like, all right, like, this patient really likes me for some reason. And so Temma goes on, and he is to find out that this nurse is telling him that he needs to speak with the chairman of this hospital to find out where he's going to end up. And the nurse even goes on and tells Temma, hey, like, it sounds like you're going on and you're probably going to be leaving, but hey, don't do that. Like, don't leave. So, uh, so Temma goes on and he makes his way to this chairman. So the chairman goes on, and he's like, well, I don't give a shit about people who are to go on and be the best at their job. I don't care about what's going on in this hospital whatsoever. I just care about results. And it seems, Temba, that you're going on and you're being more successful than anyone else is. So if anything, you're going to be the chief of medicine because you're obviously better than everyone else is. So you're going to get this title. And, like, I don't care what's going on. I don't care if you're going to quit to Japan. I don't care. You're going to go on. You're going to stay here forever. Anyways, so I'm just having a bit of a laugh here. So Temma is to now just be like, what is my life at this point? Like, he had gone on to be like, well, yeah, like, I lost the position before because of all the politics and all the bullshit, but, like, now I've gone on and gotten this position back, and just for being just a simple doctor and just saving people, like, what is my life right now? So Temba goes on and meets up with Eva, and why would Temba even give this woman the time of day? I guess Temba is just to be like, well, I have nothing better to do. So Temba goes on, meets up with Eva, and here's where Eva is to talk about, like, well, yeah, like, when I was at my funeral, like, I thought I saw you there, and I think you were trying to comfort me during this funeral. I just don't remember. And Temba's like, well, I guess I was there, but did I really comfort you? No. Like, I was just kind of in the background, just kind of not giving a fuck. So, but Eve goes on and puts her hand on Tenma, and Eve is like, well, you know what? I think we should try to give everything like a second chance. Maybe it'll work out this time around. And Tenma's like, no. Like, Tenma is just like, yeah, no. Like, goodbye. Like, gold digger who only wants to go on and wants to be with me because of because what title I have and not the man that I am. So Temma starts walking off, and Eva's like, well, what's wrong? Like, I want to try again. And Temma's like, well, I don't want to. I don't give a about you. So now we have 18 years that is, or 18 years, 9 years that goes on and passes here. For some weird, goofy reason, I thought there was a significant amount of gap of time that passes, but I guess I was deliciously, viciously wrong. Um, so yeah, like, if anything, yeah, at least I probably said at some point that there was a large gap of time that passed, but I maybe was wrong about the number. Anyways, so 9 years later, Temba is very successful at his job. It seems that he actually has people like that are working behind him that actually are good doctors, like Doctor um, Nur and that other doctor that had gone on to explain to Temba before about all the emergencies and all the stuff while he's getting like hugged by this nurse weirdly about all these deaths that were going on during that time period. So uh, we'd come to find out within this area that there was this wacky flood going on. It's wild and wacky, this flood. So we'd come to find out this is going on in 1995's Germany, this wild and wacky flood, because they're talking about the Berlin Wall coming down, and that seemed to have happened 6 years ago. And so, is this like a real time period piece of this show? Like, I'm just so like I'm fascinated, but also I'm just like, why does it need to be a time period piece? It doesn't really need to matter. But anything. I guess that's just what is to make this show just more interesting. I guess that it's a time period piece for some strange reason. Anyways, so we have the state police that is going on through boats and making their way through the town. So uh, so here's where we bring back Inspector Lunge into the fold, and we again have a case that seems very similar to the case that Lunge has been dealing with before, that it looked like a string of robberies, but really it's to actually not go on and be the case of that. That these were all kind of lined up to be murders. So the pattern kind of matches up with Dr. Lunge's prior case, but also they bring up the picture of a guy named Yonkers, and is to mention about how Yonkers is to be possibly linked to all these robbery crimes because he is to be the guy that was to break in, well, not exactly break in, but be a lockpick guy that would help people break in to certain locations. And come to find out, this lockpick guy, he would go on to be funded by eventually Johann without really realizing it. And Yonkers would just be a guy that is to just be the fall guy of this whole operation. That like, hey, yeah, like all I was to go on and was to do this job just that way I can get this nutcracker clock. And for some odd reason, he just could not go on and obtain that weird nutcracker clock. And that kind of started him off of doing this whole job. Uh, so, and we'll talk about that later on here. So, the next thing we see is a kid patient going on with this nurse trying to fly this kite, and the nurse is kind of shit at it. So she goes on and she's like, "Yeah, I can't fly a kite." So Temma, because he's good at freaking everything, um, goes on and makes his way to the nurse after talking to Becker about the daughter of the director and talking about how she's a nice person, but if anything, he's never going to go on, never going to date her ever again. And so Temma goes on and he makes his way to this kite, and he realizes that the kite is unbalanced and he fixes it. And then he goes on and starts flying the kite. And so the kid ends up getting so excited that his kite can then fly. And Temma goes on and tells his patient, yeah, maybe sometime soon when you're going on and you're feeling better, maybe you'll be able to go on and fly this kite yourself. Um, until then, hey, yeah, I'll fly it for you. So Temma goes on and goes through this surgery, and while that is going on, we have Yonkers that is be running through the town like a madman, and he ends up getting clipped by this car and knocked down, and he has blood coming rushing from his head. So in a very vicious way, I'm just trying to go on and I'm trying to really fast track to kind of get this whole thing done because yeah, like I'm trying to very much realize that I'm almost close to the end here. So I'm just trying to fast track to kind of get this thing freaking done. Um, but anyways, uh, I gotta lost my place for a second here. So Yonkers ends up getting into an accident. Uh, the driver kind of rushes out and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna call an ambulance. Like this isn't my fault. The guy just came out of nowhere." So we have Inspector Lunge that is to make his way to this hospital to have a picture of Yonkers and like, uh, this seems to be a patient at this hospital here. I'm looking for him. Do you know where he could be? And so uh, Lunge is hoping that Yonkers is to be kept alive, and he's hoping that the best doctor is going to be put in for the job, and it ends up being none other than Tenma. So, because if anything, like Lunge is hoping that Tenma is to be involved in the case because, if anything, he knows that it'll save him, but also it's like, well, yeah, we need to have him be put with the best doctor possible because we need him alive because we have information that we need from him. And that's what he goes on and he talks to this doctor about. So, and the doctor goes on and says, like, well, the guy's going to end up being in brain surgery. So, if anything, that'll lead him to probably go on and seek surgery by a guy named Tenma. And Lunge is like, oh, like, why does that name sound so familiar? So, Tenma goes on and makes his way to the hospital where he speaks to this doctor who had just gone on and speaking to Inspector Lunge. So the doctor goes on and tells Temma how this guy is in a coma right now, and if anything, his pupils are dilated as if he'd just gone on and probably smoked a big fatty. So Tenma goes on and makes his way into speaking with Inspector Lunch. Oh yeah, Dr. Tenma. Hey, yeah, like we can catch up a bit here because we've met in the past. And Tenma's like, oh, I don't really remember you. And then Tenma's like, well, yeah, like the director's funeral. Like I met with you. I'm the weird guy with the typewriting hand. Like, and Tenma's like, oh yeah, like you are the guy from the BKA, whatever that means. And why is it that Tenma specifically remembers that is kind of strange. But anyways, so Lunch is like, yeah, like I'm Inspector Lunch. Like I'm working on this case here. And we then have Inspector Lunch that's like, yeah, Tim, it seems like a number of guys keep dropping down dead around you. So there's just something about it that, like, because I never maybe even collared Temba, that's probably the reason why so many people have ended up dead now. Um, or Lunge is to say, yeah, that case had gone cold, so I'm kind of blaming Temma because of that. Anyways, uh, so Lunge is like, well, yeah, like you're gonna go on and be going over my patient, and I definitely need him to stay alive because I'm going to be questioning him on things. And Temma is to go on and be like, well, like this is like the first come first serve patient that I was to go on and get. So if anything, I just see all life valuable. If anything, like I'm going to try to save this guy like I would try to save anybody. Like he's not going to be special. So Temma goes on and makes his way into the operating room. And he talks about removing a hematoma and starts working on the guy's brain. There's a whole bunch of technical jargon that kind of gets thrown in here, so if anything, it'll be lost by me. So, uh, so Temma, eventually after the whole surgery is to go on and be done and over with, um, Temma goes on and asks the doctor how the patient has been doing, and the doctor goes on and tells Temba that he is conscious and that there is a part of his body that is kind of paralyzed on the left side. And so Hema's like, well, yeah, all he'll have to do is just kind of rehab his body, and I'm sure that the paralysis will at some point go away, and he'll kind of be brought back to normal. So, but Tema wants to go on and specifically see Mr. Yonkers and kind of definitely do his due diligence here to make sure that his patient is well. So Tema goes on and makes his way to Yonkers and is like considering the guy's eyes are open. He's like, "Hey, can you see my finger? How many fingers do I have? Can you answer me, Yonkers?" And so all of a sudden we have Yonkers that's like, "The monster is," and Temba's like, "What was that?" And he's like, "The monster, what?" Up the volume there, Yonkers. What is it that you're saying? Yonkers like, the monster. So Temma is trying to get as close as he can to Yonkers to understand what he's saying. And eventually it comes out that Yonkers says, the monster is coming. And Temma's like, the monster? Who did the what now? Like, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of that film, or I don't know what band the monsters. Who are you talking about? So that's when the credits roll, and then in the follow up episode, they go right back to that scene. They basically just recycle the scene over again, and like I guess they just realized that no one was gonna binge watch this mother, or that they just kind of assumed that they can just go on and just replay the scene just to kind of eat up more time of this specific episode, because they probably really stretched it out, probably. So, because yeah, they re-go through the whole scene again. There's also some times in this show where they really go through and rehash past scenes anyways. So if anything, kind of rehashing to the monster is coming thing, like, yeah, like, but I guess if anything, like them going through the whole monsters coming thing kind of leans into what this chapter 4 really is, which is to be the night of the execution. So Temma goes on and is with his patient, and we then have Inspector Lunge that comes in and talks things out with Yonkers. And so Inspector Lunge wants to go on and wants to figure out who Yonkers' colleagues are that he worked with, because obviously he didn't do this alone. Like, he was just the guy that was just there to be the lockpick, and there was other people doing other things here, and Lunge knows that, so he's like, all right, give it up. Who is it that you were working with? So Yonkers is to be very tight-lipped, but eventually Yonkers will go on and try to speak to the police officer, the state policeman that's been guarding his room, and be like, okay, I'm ready to confess. And eventually when he does that, that's when the state policeman falls over and is dead because of the candy. But anyways, so as Yonkers is not going on and not really saying much, Lunge is like, okay, well, like, I'm gonna go on and make sure that Yonkers gets a guard at his room to kind of protect him, because we definitely want to make sure that this guy stays alive long enough to spill the beans, confess. So about who he is working with, and also we're realizing that he may be in danger because of these people that don't want this information to be told to, as well as also Yonkers is to mention about how the monster is coming. So it's like, like maybe he's to go on and be in danger. So yeah, Lunge is going on and making sure that that Yonkers is being taken care of, as Lunge is just kind of typing away with his fingers. So and plus also Lunge is talking about plea bargains and all these kinds of things. So and so Yonkers goes on, and the more he's getting questioned by these inspectors, he starts to go on. He starts to lose it, and that's where like Temma kind of calls off the inspector, like, "Hey, like, I'm protecting my patient." So, so Temma goes on and takes Yonkers out on a wheelchair to go out and kind of just look outside, because he thinks that it's for the betterment of them that they go on and they spend some time outside to kind of get some fresh air, and just to get outside, so it kind of gets them kind of out and about and going. So the state policeman goes on and says to Temma, "Hey, wait a minute, you're taking that patient, you're taking him outside?" And Temma's like, "Well, yeah, like, I want to go on and I want to kind of give him the best quality of life and have him go outside to get some fresh air and be able to just get outside. If anything, state policeman, you can go on and follow us out there, so you can watch over them, but that's what I'm going to go on and do." And so the policeman's like, "Oh, okay, like, all right, well, like, I'll just let you go out there and just do that." So Yonkers and Temma are outside, and here's the part where Yonkers goes on and goes into that whole story about the clock with the nutcracker, and that's all he ever wanted to do was just get that clock with the nutcracker. That he broke into some store just to get this clock with the nutcracker, and that was the reasoning for why he did this job. The reason why he did it all was just for that clock. So Uh, but also Tenma is to go in and talk about how other doctors will probably go on and probably do being a doctor for fame or research, but anything he was to almost feel like he was going to be that kind of doctor, but if anything, like a boy from his past had really changed things for him. And so as well as also like doctors who are only to kind of be concerned to where their status is, but Tenma is not to be concerned about that at all. So Tenma goes on and with Yonkers to watch these uh, kid patients go on and kind of just play with this nurse, and eventually they lose the ball, and Tenma goes on and kind of gives it back to him. So, uh, so back to Yonkers. So Yonkers is to go on and talk about the whole Nutcracker thing with the clock, and then he starts to go on and mention about how his associates and the people they worked with eventually all started to get killed off, and that's what had Tenma who's like, oh, so like it seems that that is probably the monster that you're referring to, is that somebody's coming after your people that you've worked with, and they're kind of lobbing them off and they're coming after you, so you're in danger. So we have Tenma and we have Becker. They're making their way through town, and they're talking about a date that Tenma is possibly going to be going on, and talking about how this girl that they're talking about is beautiful and intelligent and da 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 da. And as Tenma walks by, he sees this store that has this clock with this nutcracker in it. He's like, "Oh my god! Like that was exactly the thing that my patient was talking about, and I want to do right by my patient and get him this whole nutcracker clock, and hope that that's gonna kind of make him happier. So I want to go and I want to get him this clock. Like it's a nice gesture." So Tenma goes on and runs into the store, and Becker's like, "What are you doing? Like, if anything, we got to go on this date. What are you doing? Like, where are you going?" So Tenma goes on and he buys this clock, and he's thinking about his patient. And so here's where Yonkers goes on to remember what Tenma had said and realize that he's like, you know what? Like, it's never too late to start over. How about I go on and go to the state policeman and I confess everything and I get everything off my chest? So Yonkers goes to the state policeman, is like, okay, sir, I'd like to confess everything that I've ever done in my life, even the time that I stole that candy bar when I was 7 or whatever. So the state policeman is like, okay, that's good and great and all, but I'm dead. And he falls over. And Yonkers is like, oh, well, that's not going to be looking so good for me. So Yonkers goes on to realize, like, oh my god, like, maybe I'm to go on and be a bit of a threat here if this police officer is now dead in front of me. Yeah, maybe I should go on and start scrambling out of this hospital, because now I'm to go on and realize that I'm in jeopardy here. So, as Yonkers is running like a chicken with his head cut off all throughout town, we have Tenma that is making his way back to this hospital with this big lavish gift that he'll never go on and have his patient get received. Sadly enough, but at least the thought was behind it. So Temma goes on to one of these nurses, like, well, yeah, I have a gift for my patient. Look at me, I'm being a nice guy. So Temma goes on and makes his way to his patient. Here's where we find the dead police officer, and so uh, Tenma turns to the police officer to ask him what is the matter, and he realizes that he's dead. He's been poisoned by the candy. He finds the candy wrapper. Before Tenma had gone on to at some point find, I think, a candy wrapper in his car, right? Like there was at some point where like he was taking some like wrapper or something out of his car. I didn't know what that was, but now I think I remember that very vaguely because he's grabbing some scrap of paper in his car at some point, and so I'm trying to figure out what exactly that was connected to. Anyways, so Tenma, let me know in the comments below, like if you probably watched this whole series, like if I was mistaken by that part. And also, you guys can correct me on everything because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I kind of either missed or there's a lot of stuff that I didn't describe in the best way of possible. Because I'm sure there's people that go on and at some point correct me at some certain points of episodes because there's some stuff that doesn't happen exactly the way I say it because I've been corrected by stuff before in the past, like Dino Fury episodes, and there's like a Chucky episode where I got a little bit of things slightly confused because it's bound to happen anyways. Plus, also, we're almost 2 hours and change in, and more than likely I should have gone on and I should have ended this a lot quicker. But oh well, this is going to be a lot longer video than I'm used to doing because also there's a lot of long-winded stuff where I just kind of kept adding in, and that was my downfall. Oh well, but we're almost done anyways, so good for me. Like I feel great. Like I like at least. Yeah, there's some times where I'm needing to like take long breaths to get my wind back. But at least I'm not to feel like I did in the prior video where I was like, man, I felt very lightheaded and very loopy by the end of it. Like I think now I'm kind of feeling good because I'm kind of rebounding from my issues and just kind of feeling like I've gotten my wind back. So this is hopefully great for future videos that I'll hopefully get into and be able to hopefully do very well in the future of next videos. If it seems that I'm kind of on the rebound of doing well. So Temma makes his way to his patient's room calling out for Yonkers. And so Temma goes on and starts scrambling outside of the hospital, making his way to the exit door to try to scramble to see if he could find Yonkers anywhere. So Temma goes on and realizes, like, yeah, this is the same thing as last time. The candy wrapper. People are getting poisoned by candy. Oh my god, like, this is all going on reminding us of the murders that had happened in the prior past. So, of all of 9 years ago. So, Temma's going on through the dark alleys and finding Yonkers scrambling and yelling and whatever. And so Temma goes on and follows the path of Yonkers through the streets of Calcutta, or in this case, Germany, and eventually goes on and finds exactly where Yonkers is. Yonkers goes on to say to Temma, don't go on and don't look at him. If you look at him, he'll kill you. And he's the one who had gone on to kill my accomplices. And he'll kill you. So the man in the shadows is to go on and start to talk to Tenma. It's like, it's been a long time, Doctor. It's me, the boy you saved 9 years ago. And Tenma's like, 9 years ago? And like, yeah, haven't you forgotten already? Do you remember the twins? And then Tenma's like, oh, you're Johan. You're Johan. Um, Liebert or whatever his goofy last name is. Johan, yeah, it's so nice of us to catch up, you murdering psychopath, you. Yeah, I know exactly who you are, and I know that I can go on and I can turn you into the authorities because I know who exactly your name is. And so, because Yonkers is to go on and say to Tenma, it's like, well, yeah, like, don't know who he is, don't see his face. And Tenma's like, well, yeah, I already know who he is, and I've already seen his face in the past. So yeah, if anything, like, I already know who this guy is. If anything, like, if he kills me, then that's what happens. But I already know who this guy is. Like, we've met one another. So 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 Johan is to take his gun out and mention about how after the incidents and the people who had died, that Tenma Johan is to find out that Tenma is to have become the chief of surgery. It's like, oh well, like, I'm so glad that you are to go on and be successful after I've gone on to kill so many people. And so we have Tenma that is trying to convince Johan to not kill Yonkers. Tenma is telling him, hey, yeah, like, because of you, I had realized that all life is valuable, that don't kill this man, because if anything, I want everyone to live. Like, I want everyone to go on, and I want um, them to not die. So, yeah, so obviously, stupid. Like, yeah, so Tenma's like, I want this man to leave. Don't kill him. So, like, but Tenma keeps harping on the fact that it's this boy made him change his perspective about the value of life, and that Tenma is hoping that he could convince Johan to put the gun down. But Johan does go on, pull the trigger, blast into Yonkers, mowing him down, and then Johan passes out of the shadows to get near Tenma, and Tenma and Johan are to look at one another face to face, and Johan passes. And so now we have Inspector Lunge that is to make his way through the window, and he's realizing how much rain is to be outside, and realizing how when there's rain, it always washes the evidence away. So Dr. Lunge is or Dr. Lunge, Inspector Lunge is talking to Tenma, and is talking about the twin children, the Lieber family, and talking about the kid who had gotten into a head injury of serious conditions, and how Tenma was to have operated on this boy, and eventually Tenma turned into becoming the chief of surgery because of the killings that this boy had done upon these people. And it was all due to poisonous candy. So, Tenma is to go on and say yes, and the boy is to be Johan Liebert, and he is to have been the one who has gone on to kill all of these people. And Inspector Lunch is like, okay, I'll go on and I'll I'll let you go for the day. So Inspector Lunge is going on and speaking with this detective, and so he's like, okay, like if anything, we're going to be focusing on Johan, trying to obtain him, and because Tenma doesn't go on and have any gunpowder residue, or why would he, on his finger, so there's nothing to pin him on. Uh, Plus, there was nothing significant about Tenma that is to have him be the suspect here. But if anything, with Tenma giving the cops this information to kind of lead them into this investigation to look into Johan, they're like, okay, we'll just look into Johan and maybe see if this keeps connecting us to Tenma and see where this goes. So Tenma goes on and he is walking in the streets and he falls over, putting his hands on his knees, and he starts just bellowing, crying for all that he's kind of been through. And then we have the credits roll. So thank God, because I'm going to go on and wrap up here and call this thing a video. I would probably go on for another 30 minutes and just go on and on about my myself and everything like that, and just feel at least therapeutically accomplished by getting another video out there. I apologize. I probably should have gone on and tried to force getting this out yesterday, but it kind of seems like right now I'm in a pattern of kind of fixing thumbnails, and those take a very long time, which people probably won't understand or care about, because it is like, that, why do you need to fix any thumbnails? Like, there are obviously just certain videos where I just kind of like look at the thumbnails and I'm like, yeah, like this thumbnail, like I think I can go on and just do something kind of visually more fun. And regardless of how it exactly pans out, or I'm not quite sure if I completely am sold by how it just, I'm just like, I think I could have gone on and done something a little bit different, or maybe even better. But I just kind of throw my hands up at some point and just like, you know what, like, there's some thumbnails that I think that at least I will be therapeutically happy by how they look, but that won't go on and won't do anything. It won't make the video more appealing to people, but at least it'll go on and like just have a fun, creative experience that I could have, and could be rewarding by if the video does do better. Like, I would go on and look at videos like Captain America Winter Soldier, where that video for a long time did effing nowhere. But I think when I was to start to adjust the thumbnail on it, I put in like the costume of which they actually did have of that character, and I really put the effort in to the thumbnail. And by all means, like, that's what had that video eventually explode for how much I really did care about that project and how much I loved it, and how eventually that thing has just been the better of my channel, all because I'd gone on to make a different thumbnail that was actually legit. Like, I would go on, I would keep so many costumes in my past, and there are so many cosplaying things that I legitimately have. Like, I try to restrain as much as possible from doing a lot of Photoshop stuff. I try as much as possible. Like, the only thing that I do is I tweak colors from time to time, but all this stuff is legitimately there. There's very rare amount of stuff that I Photoshop at this point. Um, like, there's obviously certain things where, like in the Venom reviews of the thumbnails, like there's obviously times like I put like half of one other picture that I had on top of another. Like, I did that obviously because it just kind of like, I was like, man, this looks kind of fun. Like, this could be a fun exercise, and like, that was kind of cool to do. Um, but I probably could have gone on and done that thumbnail in a number of different ways, and it still would have been very much interesting. But I just chose to do it that way. And I just had a bit of fun with it. I just took it and ran with it, and it just had a bit of fun. Like, I think that's what people kind of forget about this whole process of doing a YouTube video is that they forget that they should try to have fun with this. Like, I want to go on and I want to strive to say that I am to be an artist, uh, or I want to be creative, and like I don't want to just chuck something out there if I can just make it look tweakingly a little bit more interesting or better or whatever. And there's a lot of thumbnails that obviously do look boring or aren't because there were sometimes where I was at a time of my life where I was fat or there was some goofy cosplay that I kind of regret doing after the fact. I'm like, like I could probably do that a little bit better now. I can maybe go on and I can afford things or find things that'll make this thumbnail look a little bit better. And poof, here is where we are. Like looking at like Power Rangers Dino Fury, how I actually obtained like a costume that yes, like felt very painted on because it really was. But at least I got that, and I had to like really go on and I really had to like really squeeze into that thing. But man, was it rewarding by me going on and doing all those thumbnails and feeling very accomplished that I was able to fit in that costume as well as also to do all those photos and make those adjustments, even though regardless of I don't think that it really did actually benefit those thumbnails, but it benefited me because I therapeutically was to feel better about what I did. Like I don't care at this point if like I'm not hoping that me having these cool looking thumbnail like I'm not trying to do this just so people will praise me for them um, or people will go on and and like I'm not trying to do them because I'm like, oh yeah, I think that this is the best possible way I can stand out. No, like I'm doing them because I feel that like the way I want to go about this is to do it this way because I find it the most cool, interesting thing. Like I go on and I just like, man, like this is actually like just really a lot of fun to approach this in this manner and to see if I can keep doing it. If I can see if I can keep getting away with making these thumbnails to look just like these characters. Like if anything, like I'm not doing it uh, in order to get praise from people because it won't happen anyways. But like I'm not doing it um, because I think it's the most unique and beautiful way. Like at some point, I think I did feel that way, but I think I've been doing it for so long now that like at first is to probably feel like, oh yeah, like there's so very few people that are cosplaying, but you'd probably find a handful of people that do that anyways. Like there's like a 3C films whatever, he cosplays all the time. Channel Awesome at some point would cosplay all the time, but he's kind of just given up because his channel just does well regardless of his cosplay. So he's kind of, I don't want to say it, but he's kind of gotten lazy. But it's true. Like, look at all of they're all the same. Like, it's just him, just like he used to do the cosplay things, and then he probably just realized that it doesn't really matter what he does, that people will just come to the videos anyway. So he just got lazy. But if anything, like laziness is also just like he's been successful at it. So justifiably, like why would he go on and why would he put in an effort to buy all these costumes and everything like that, especially for movies that aren't as good as they used to be. So I think there was at a certain point where he just kind of fell off of doing all the costumes things because all that stuff costs money, as well as also all of it is to take that extra effort to do all that stuff where it's like, why does he need to do it anymore? Like the videos just do well regardless. And at some point there was probably a margin where he could see that. Kind of like also like very much recently, I'm just seeing a pattern of just videos that are just kind of just this and that or whatever. But I still like, I see that regardless of how slow going videos are, I'm still seeing randomly that I'm finding people that get drawn to them regardless how low the views are. Um, like I'll find people that like email me stuff because of some random video they found. I'll find the most random of people that go on and find a video, know how long it's been out, and they're like, oh my god, yeah, like I just found this video, I didn't know anybody was reviewing this. Like, yeah, I guess I'm the very obscure guy that wanted to do this. And it's like, man, you found this piece of content, like I didn't think anybody was going to find this. But also I still to this day keep getting content or comments from stuff like Stanley's Lucky Man. That was like the biggest thing for this channel. Um, and like doesn't do as much views anymore, but still is to be a thing that every once in a while still gets like 1,000 views here and there. But ultimately, it's just like I just got lucky with finding that. Like it was not like at some point I just kind of looked through every single comic book thing possible and just started like, hey, let's watch this show. And then all of a sudden, boom, like it did amazing things for the channel. And then I was like forever grateful that I just took a chance on that. And that's the thing where I think like I wish a lot of YouTubers would take a lot more chances about the stuff that they would review. I think a lot of YouTubers, as far as reviews and reactions are concerned, I think a lot of people are just kind of stuck in their ways. And I think experimenting right now is like the best possible thing that people could do. Um, if anything, right now, like I should probably go on and I should probably cover more new releases on this channel. Like I was kind of interested in covering the back rooms. I was kind of interested in covering um, some interesting kind of horror new releases finally, and like Evil Dead Burn is going to be coming out soon, so I should probably be covering that stuff. Or if Evil Dead Burn is probably out by now, it won't matter because whenever this video comes out, it'll just be a time capsule of whenever things are to be a hitting of whatever. But anyways, I'm gonna get that out of here because I know this video is far too long and a lot of people won't care about everything that I say here. Plus, also, I probably burned some bridges by just talking shit at some point in this video, anyways, right? Uh, but you know what? Like, I'd go on to probably just be more blunt and more honest with everybody. Um, because at this point, like with a lot of people who probably only watch like a very slow portion of this video, or there's people that go on and insult me through the comments because they don't really know what the video is for. They don't really understand it. Because yeah, if you watch the video long enough, you'll come to find the reason why you're watching the video is to one, get my opinion upon the content, but also share in some of like, well, yeah, like I really like this show also, or I really like this movie, or I really grew up with this as a kid, and I da 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 da. Yeah, there is always that, but also there is me going on and explaining to you, hey, yeah, like it seems that this piece of content right now doesn't exist anywhere. You can't watch it, or you have to pay some stupid fee on some subscription thing somewhere. I'm going to go on and I'm going to take you to an app that you can absolutely watch this all for free. Like when you want to go on and when you want to find a show or a movie for absolutely free, because I'm going to go on and I'm going to help you in every single one of these videos find that. Wouldn't that be nice? And like that is the reason why like I want to push so early in these videos where you can go on, you can find these for absolutely free, so that way you can help people. And for those of you that are just in it to just watch um, clips and stuff, and reactions and stuff like that, which, yeah, those videos of those channels don't really last very long. There's obviously certain times where I'm obviously seeing a lot of reaction stuff where those channels quickly die because like they're getting content strikes, they're getting killed, and then people are going on and they're demanding that I go on and I have reactions, or I put the videos into the, and like, so if my channel isn't dying already, it'll die because of content strikes or whatever other reason. Because I'm sure there's so many things of red tape that YouTube has that I always have to get concerned about what I say in videos, uh, or how I talk to people all the time, because I have to be in a consistent state of worry of like, man, I hope I don't tick somebody off today by just being honest, and hope that that's not going to go on and be in jeopardy of some kind of something. So I don't know, like there's a lot of times where I feel like if there's ever like actually trolls out there, they come and they go. Like there's very few people that if they do troll, um, that they don't find who I really am and try to, they're like, oh yeah, maybe I just really had a really bad day that day, and then they decide to subscribe onto the channel or whatever. Um, like there's obviously certain times where like I had the whole fitness short things, and I completely took off the comment section of it because I'm like, yeah, like if anything, like none of these people that are trolling me, like none of them are going on and subscribing, right? They're just dropping in and just seeing this video and then just making fun of it, which obviously is going to go on to be the like like I don't want to go on and talk about trolls that much, honestly, on the channel because I know that just justifies this behavior that people need to come in and be a-holes. And that's the reason why like I was tempted to go on and cover mean comments because it does so well on so many other YouTubers. But like I don't want to justify people doing more of that behavior. Like that goes on to have me be like, you know what, I want to try to keep everything in a more positive light, even though, yeah, I'm going through some stuff and I'm trying to be honest about it. But like, I don't want to be a person that shines the light on the negative, like doing a mean comments video, because like then that really feels like I'm doing something to kind of promote like, well, yeah, like I'm doing it for the drama of it all, like I'm doing it for how am I going to react to these things and cry and hoo hoo hoo. Like if you go into these videos long enough, you'll eventually find me talking about some kind of something that somebody said and being so butthurt by it. but but really I'm not going to go on and specifically ever do a video that is to be titled that, is to really go on and want to say like, yeah, like mean comments, they're an acceptable thing and I'm hoping to get more so I can go on and have more content of a video that I can put together later. No, like that's not how I want to live my life, to try to make a profit off of horrible people um, that don't really know what my videos are about because they don't take the time long enough to eventually see where like, hey, yeah, I'm going to give you this video or this movie for absolutely free, check out this app, everybody can find it, da 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 da. If not, I'll go and I'll justify to give you another one. Yeah, or I can go and I can list a number of movies or shows that this is just like. So if you don't like this show, you'll find other things. That's why I'm here. That's why I exist. And I love doing this. Um, I do, regardless of whatever I'm mentally, physically, or emotionally going through. I completely love doing this. And so that's why I go on and I almost take 3 hours of your day. Because even when I'm to go on and look at a YouTube content or a YouTube comment that talks about how like I talk for a long-winded time. Yeah, even right now, like I'm going through this chest injury that makes breathing a vicious labor of trying to accomplish. But like if if I can keep going for another hour, I would. If it justified uh, me getting everything I wanted out of my brain noggin to just feel good and feel like that um, that I felt good by the end of all this. So good enough, I guess, guys. I'm gonna go on and call this a video. Thank you for listening to the ramblings of a person that likes to just hear himself talk, because really isn't that what this really is? Um, but anyways, at least I'm admitting it now. That really no one else wants to hear me talk but me, and that's okay because at the end of the day, I'll keep doing it. And hopefully, I'll find a better piece of content that people will enjoy. But anything, um, the real reason I'm doing this is because I want to help people. I want to help people find content that they aren't aware of. I want to go on and I want to be able to have fun in all these. And regardless of what troll comes out this day, um, I'm just going to keep on doing the best possible video I can and really just having a bit of fun. Like Jason and the Argonauts, regardless of how shit that didn't do and how much that hurt me, because of how really I was in pain during that day, and breathing was a hard process. You can tell by the very tail end of that video how I was like, huh, like I'm just like, yeah, like I should probably stop the video now because I'm really feeling just horrible. But I kept on going. But anyways, so uh, I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, buddy. Bye, buddy.